Officially, so ladies and gentlemen, LYSSA ADKINS, a professional coach, the author of Coaching Agile Teams, Agile and Leadership Coach. So let's hear you out. And of course, after the lecture, the after party room will be open for additional questions you may have if you want to teach it.
Great.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. I'm really glad to be here. I've just put a question in the chat, so I'd love to hear all kinds of voices through the best advice or any good advice you've received about connecting with people online, because that's going to be our topic. And I just want to look at you. Hello, Daniela. Hello, Irshad, Kashul, Yafid, Shalaya.
So the question is
Shelley.
how to connect online?
Nope, the question is in the chat. Here it comes again. What is a
Okay.
good advice you've gotten about connecting online?
Use humor.
There you go. Yeah. So there are 122 of us here. Hi, everyone. Hi. Hi. Yeah, just look around. There's about 40 or so people who have their cameras on. There's Evelyn with her baby. Hi. Oh, the baby just waved. Did you see that?
We did.
Yeah, it's nice.
He's the youngest audience.
Yeah. So we've got some things in the chat, and a lot of it has to do with have your camera on and have small talk. Don't step on each other. Don't get into each other's words. Keep yourself visible and drink whiskey. There we go. So all kinds of advice coming in. You've probably gotten tons of advice about how to connect online since we all got scattered to our homes and then asked to be together. Danko is showing us his piece of advice, which is use humor. He's got his big cowboy hat on. I used to live in a place where there actually were cowboys for real in Texas.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here we are. We are all immediately online, more than we anticipated, right? And early in the pandemic, okay, everyone look at Danko because he just made me laugh. And then we'll come back to me. I like the hair. I like the hair.
The sister.
So my clients early in the pandemic, especially leaders, were saying things to me like, you know, I don't think people know like that I'm empathetic to them. I don't think that's coming through online. Can you help me? Can you help that empathy come through? And I was working with some of those leaders and I'm like, well, you're not actually that empathetic in person. So it's going to be hard for that to come through online. And so there's multiple things going on. You know, and also people who are genuinely empathetic, it's hard for that to come through online. So I had all of that, all those requests, and I was thinking, you know, when my daughter was in high school, I would watch her, and maybe you watch your kids do this, be online like all the time. She'd be sending, you know, every little face that she wants to make, she'd be sending it through Snapchat to her friends. And I was like, what are they doing? They were connecting, but then I had the question, like, are they really connecting? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Do you have that question too? Are people really connecting? So I had this idea back then that, oh my gosh, we're going to have to train an entire generation how to genuinely connect, because all they know really is how to connect through technology. And I'm worried that they're not really connecting. And then now here we all are on technology. And I wonder if, whether or not we know it, we have landed ourselves in what I'm calling connection school. We're back in school, but we don't know it because there's a whole bunch of new things we need to learn. So let's also ask this question. I want to know who do you want to connect with better, or in what situations would you like to better connect? Let's see what you say to that as well. With whom would you like to better connect, or with what situations? And you can put stuff in the chat, or maybe like a few voices right now would be nice. Would love to hear just a few of you. With whom would you like to better connect?
I think unofficial, the thing I'm struggling the most is unofficial communication. Like things that you would just grab someone in the hallway and ask a quick question.
No hallway.
It turns into a whole very long conversation, and I feel like I'm not doing it efficiently enough. This is my main struggle with connecting online.
Yeah, right. Yulia, yeah? Is that how I say your name? Yeah. Yeah, so like there's no way to just pass someone in the hall and say, oh, hey, about that little thing. And then it's 2 seconds later, the conversation's over. Yeah. So Yulia, pay attention when I start talking about intention and what we can do with intention. Right? Let's hear another voice. With whom would you like to connect better, or in what situations? You can also put stuff in chat. You know, the more you all share with each other, the more rich it's going to be. Talia, Tali.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. What I miss the most is the ability to see a person and see how he feels, what is different about him today. Is it a good day? Is it a hard day? Did he sleep well at night? Things like that. It's very hard to get sense of people.
It is. It really is hard to get the sense of people. And in some ways, we just have to be more dumb and ask more directly, because we can't, you know, our bodies are really good at picking that stuff up from each other when we're in person. And we can pick it up over technology, but we're not as used to it. So maybe one more voice. With whom would you like to connect better, or in what situations?
What's scary me in connecting in a virtual way, as we do it now, is that you never know what happened the minute you leave the meeting. I mean, each one of us is staying, assume it's the first meeting of, so each one is left with his thoughts about what happened, and maybe he will think, this one was over trying, over friendly, or I don't know. So it's like, you never know. I mean, some people do, but
you don't know.
That sometimes I don't know where to put the line and say, okay, stop.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have a question about alignment. Like, are we leaving this meeting with the same idea? Are we leaving aligned? Yeah?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yes. So you can be very communicative in a meeting, but how would you know if it's not too much? I mean, like you're pressing too much to try to be connected. Maybe it's too much for the other person. How would you know?
Maybe. Yeah. So what I'm bringing to you all today are really skills of professional coaching, because professional coaches have connected deeply with their clients online before we even had video, going back as far to when there was a big telephone receiver that people held up to their ears. That's how professional coaches have always done their work. So imagine, without even seeing people, how you can genuinely and authentically connect with them. And it is totally possible. So what I'm investigating for myself is, okay, what are those things that professional coaches do that are almost innate to them at this point, that they don't even think about them as skills? Let me go ahead and pull that apart so we can learn from what professional coaches have come to naturally do. And so that's what I've been up to, at least in part. I'm very curious about this thing called Connection School. And I think that someone needs to come along and just say, okay, I'm going to make a Connection School, because I don't want to own a business, but I want to contribute content to someone else's business. So, and these are the sorts of content pieces that I'm interested in experimenting with you all today. So I have only 4 main ideas. I only have 4 slides. And so what I want to do is give you each idea, and then we'll do a practice together. And the practices are primarily, and in fact, probably all of them can be just you with yourself. You don't need anyone else to do these practices. So I'll just lead you through it. And I hope you come along with me, and I hope you experiment and play with me. Is anyone up for that? To experiment and play and try things today? Yeah.
I'm in.
Oh, you're in. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad.
I'm in as well.
Yay. All right. Yay. So we're just going to be talking about these 4 ideas, and then bam, do some stuff to enliven them. And also, I have created, I'll show you my screen. I've created a kind of a field guide because, let me share this in full view. So this bit.ly link here, bit.ly/connection practice. If you want to go download that field guide, that practice guide, feel free, because it's a, when I do experiential things, when I'm led through experiential things, later I'm like, what did they do? What was that thing we did again? And I can never really remember. So this is the way for you to remember what we did. And also, I can only imagine what this is like listening to this in your second, third, or fourth language. I only have one language, so it's hard for me to imagine the amazing skill and ability that you all have. So it's easier potentially to also follow along with this Connection School Practice Guide, and this is what it looks like. So it'll guide us through exactly what we're doing here together. So feel free to grab that, and I will also put that that URL in the chat a couple different times as we go. Also, Boaz is drawing for us. Is this a true story? Yes, I see his face. He's like, okay.
One moment.
Okay. Oh, yeah, to look like you're drawing. Okay, I get it. So about halfway through, we'll stop and we'll take it over to him and see what he's been doing over in the Miro board for us. Okay. Who's ready for the first idea? If you are, say I am.
Shoot.
I am.
I am. Okay, good. Thanks. So the first idea is simply this: see people as people, not as objects. So I'm going to stop sharing.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about that one some more. Let's talk about that one some more, and let me stop sharing. Huh. Oh, there it is. Stop share. The stop share button was the same color as the slide, red.
Yeah,
I couldn't find it. That was good.
I can share it if you want.
That's okay. I think it's okay. So see people as people, not as objects. I first read about this when I read the book Leadership and Self-Deception. And they had an exercise in that book that I also put in the Coaching Agile Teams book because it was so impactful for me at the time. And the exercise is simply this, and we can do it right now, is that you, as you go around your world and as you talk to people and as you're in meetings like this on Zoom or whatever, you look at each person and you imagine either a big gigantic P on their forehead for person or an O for object. So you know you're looking at a person as a person if you see them just kind of straightforwardly like you see yourself. You see them as a person who's doing their best, who has hopes and dreams, who's disappointed sometimes, you know, who you genuinely give a lot of credit to. You know, you genuinely see them as doing their best. That's a person. If there's an O on that person's forehead, then you see them as an object. And this might be a hard thing to admit, but I want you to go ahead and just really try this. When I first tried this, I was shocked at how many O's I, sort of in my imagination, I saw O's on people's forehead. And so these are the people that you think of as a thing. They are a thing to overcome. They're a thing to deal with. They're a thing to tolerate. they're a thing to just maybe even manipulate. So yeah, a resource someone is putting in the chat. Yeah. So look at the people on the screen. Do this in any way you want, and just imagine a P or an O on their forehead. P for person, O for object. Just to try it out. So this may not be the typical sort of situation that you're in, because who found out that there were a lot of P's on people's foreheads? Did you see a lot of P's on people's
Yes.
foreheads?
Yes.
Did anyone see some O's? You might not know these people very well. Now, even people you don't know very well, sometimes an O can magically appear on their forehead very early because something about them makes you think, oh, I have to deal with them. All right. But in general, someone is saying in the chat, I'll go ahead and bring this forward because this is really brilliant. Lena's saying, I'm shocked. Recalling my last meeting on Friday, I tried to put O's and P's over the heads of participants, 2 P's and 5 O's. And that's not unusual, because once we have a lot of interaction with people, we feel like there are a lot of things that are hard to overcome. So here's the thing. If you genuinely see an O on someone's forehead, that's okay. Like, that's life. That's where you're starting from. And people do things to us and do things around us we would prefer they not do. And sometimes that turns them into objects for us. And so the thing to do, though, if you want to genuinely connect with them, and you might not, because that's a choice point. Do you want to genuinely connect with them? Is it important for you? And if so, then the thing to do is to somehow turn that O into a P. And one of the best ways I have found to do it is through a little bit of a trick called Just Like Me. And this is a mindfulness practice that people use in the way we're about to use it, but they also use it to have themselves feel like they belong more to a group. So we're going to try it. So get someone in your mind who you have an O on their forehead. It can be someone you work with. It could be someone, in public life, someone you struggle with in some way. It could be a public figure. When you've got your person in your head, just raise your hand.
Can I have a question first?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So how do I know if I put an O on this person? I mean, what makes me put an O on him? I didn't get that one.
Don't worry about it. You don't need to know. All you need to know is you don't see them as a person anymore. You see them as an object. You see them as a thing to overcome, a thing to get by, a thing to deal with somehow. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does. But I don't think it. I don't think it happened to me. Okay, this is very confusing because I always look at people as persons, so I don't know.
It might not happen to you. It might not happen to you. I think there are some people in the world that never experience this.
When we're talking about you, I think you need to a little bit less look as people as people. Fit is on the right side of the.
Yeah. So there is a thing as being too accepting, actually.
Okay.
I was thinking about the person that I accept as an object, that I feel how I feel about him or her, whatever, that I'm worried when she's around or he's around, you know, like if I'm worried or some kind of, as you said, I'm thinking of the person as some kind of a person that I need to overcome, that brings worry to me. And other people that I accept as persons, I know stuff about them. I just chit chat with them. I ask them how their weekend was.
Yeah. So what you're doing is one of the things that this practice we're about to do does. Only you don't even need the person there to do the practice. You can do it just yourself. So it's a practice called Just Like Me. And what it does is, Boreana, exactly what you're doing. It helps us reconnect with them as a human so we can see them as a human being again and not an object. And so have that person in your mind, everyone, that you had a moment ago. And what you're going to do is listen to my voice. I'm going to say a number of sentences, and then I'm going to be quiet, and you're going to continue your own sentences in your own mind. You're going to make them up, and you'll get the idea as we go. So for a moment, so just settle down for a moment, having that person in mind, and follow my voice. This person has a body and a mind, just like me. This person has feelings, thoughts, and emotions, just like me. This person has ideas they want to contribute, just like me. This person has been disappointed in life, just like me. This person has needs, just like me. And at this point, your mind might already be formulating another sentence that ends in just like me. So you might notice that the space between us has become quite a bit calmer and more thoughtful or reflective. And that's one of the things that a practice like this can do. So when someone appears to you as an object, a practice to do, one that I like, me practice, because it helps me turn that O into a P. Now, does this mean that I have to like everyone? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that you have to love everyone. In fact, it can work with people that you genuinely dislike, or at least you dislike the impact that they have on themselves or other people. And even in that situation, like even when you judge them as being not skilled or not honest or not kind or open or whatever judgment you have, even more important then to use a practice like this so that you can create some positive regard for them. If you want to genuinely connect with someone, you have to have at least some positive regard. So it's up to you to change your view of them. It's not up to them to change right now. It's up to you to change your view of them, at least as a first step. So what this Just Like Me practice does is it helps us see people straightforwardly. It helps us realize this person has disappointments, just like I've had. This person has ideas to contribute, just like me. This person has a life, just like me. So that is the first idea that I wanted to bring to you, and those two practices. The next one is, I'm going to share my screen. Another big idea is that your attention can be consciously focused. Your attention can be consciously focused. And in order to connect with people, you have to know, where are you placing your attention? So let's come back to each other and away from that big screen. It actually really is quite amazing that we can point our attention at anything we want to point it to. And then we can pay attention to that. And when we do, we pay attention to that thing or that category of things, and then we exclude the other things we could possibly pay attention to. So what this means is that at any given moment, we're not seeing it all. we are simply not seeing it all. We're only seeing what we're paying attention to. So there's a lot more going on. And this could maybe help with that idea of positive regard if you realize I'm not actually seeing everything that's going on, even in your best attempts. So we're going to do a practice now called rotate your attention. Rotate your attention. Has anyone ever tried yoga nidra? You ever heard of yoga nidra? Yeah, some people are bobbing their heads. Yoga nidra is a great practice for rotating your attention. And part of what we're going to do now is a little bit of a jump off from yoga nidra. So, however your body is right now, do what's necessary to make it a little more relaxed, or just shift it. Because I notice a lot of you have been sitting exactly as you have for a while, like your hand is on your chin, it's been there for a while. So allow yourself to come to a more stable and quiet posture, whatever that is for you. There you go. And just take a few breaths to quiet your mind, and then you're going to hear my voice ask you to bring your attention to different things. And you'll see how amazing your attention really is. So just quiet for a few breaths here. So now bring your attention to the sounds in your environment, and just start in your mind naming those sounds. You might name Lisa's voice, and then just keep going to whatever sounds you hear in your environment. Now bring your attention to your eyes. And you might want to downcast your eyes or close them for this part. Imagine the sensation of pouring cool water behind your eyes, relaxing them completely. Relaxes your eyes, relaxes your face, relaxes the brain behind your eyes, relaxing completely. Cool water. Now bring your attention to sensations in your body. You might notice the temperature on your skin, or the sensation of air, pressure where your body meets the chair, or where your feet meet the floor. You might notice internal sensations of tight or loose inside your body, maybe your stomach tight or loose, your chest tight or loose, your jaw tight or loose. And now with your imagination, or as a sensation or an image, bring your attention to the very tip of your right index finger. To the very tip of your right index finger. You can use your imagination. Maybe you feel it as a sensation or just an image in your mind. Okay, so in a few moments, you're going to open your eyes and bring yourself back to your own room first. Go ahead and do that. Look around your room and then come back to the screen with everyone else. So this is just a practice of you noticing how amazing your attention is. How many of you found that you could put your attention on these various types of things? Could you do it? Yeah. Your attention is incredibly powerful. It is incredibly powerful. Yeah. And it's a nice little way of calming your nervous system as well. So I use this practice when I start to get hijacked, when I start to feel unskillful because I'm upset about something, or it's just not going my way. So that's another good reason to use it. It's also a precursor to us doing the next thing together, which is focusing on this next idea, which is that intention guides attention. What you intend to see, how you intend to show up, will guide where your attention gets pointed. We just saw that you can point your attention on almost anything. Your brain is amazingly facile in that. So now, how can you point it to something on purpose is the question. And what you intend to happen in an interaction completely changes what actually happens in that interaction. And I love the things you all are putting in the chat. I love that you all are interacting with one another that way. Just keep doing that. So this is the idea that if you are going to be in a meeting or you're going to have a conversation with someone, that you consciously prepare yourself for it before you get there. This doesn't take a long time. When you get good at this, it can take just a few seconds, right? And there are ways to help you get good at it. We're going to practice one. So this is the idea that you set your intention to guide your attention in this meeting or this interaction. And there are two specific things that I suggest you set your intention for. One is just simply, what is my intention for what we're going to do or create in this meeting together? Right? So what am I setting myself up for? What do I want to have happen? Right? And then the second is, what is my intention for the attitude I'll bring so that it can go well? So that it can go well for me and so that it can go well for other people. So both what are we going to do or create together, and then what is my intention for the attitude I'll bring? Because think about it, if we buy the idea that intention guides attention, then your intention really matters. It really matters because you'll then pay attention to the things that are in line with that attention. Now, a pro tip, when you and the other people around you get good at this, is that you reveal your intentions to one another, usually at the start of a meeting. And that way you can find out, are we actually all in the same meeting? Are we actually all here for purposes that align together, or are we misaligned from the very beginning? When you reveal your intention for the attitude or the vibe or the mojo that you're bringing, and other people reveal their intentions for that, you can find out what kind of a perfume you're going to create together. Because everyone's intentions for their mojo or their vibe or their attitude has direct impact on what can happen. So this is a practice for locating your intention that we're about to do. Because it might be really hard, like you're like, what do you mean intention? Like, what's my intention for that? Like, even if you know what the idea of an intention is, locating it for a specific meeting or a conversation or an interaction can sometimes be difficult. Now, where do you locate it? Again, this is an inside job. Notice how we're talking about connection, but everything we've done so far is about what's happening with you internally. And that's because this is the place to start. Until you can sort of clean your own house, you can't cleanly connect with other people, right? And so that's what we're up to right now, is we're getting the house in order, your own house in order. So this is a practice called Dignity, Belonging, Sufficiency, or DIBS for short. It's another imagination practice. But what it allows you to do is to get yourself in a good enough space to be able to ask yourself the question about your intentions. And usually the answers come right up when you do this practice. You don't have to work hard for them. In your practice guide, there's a link for a guided dignity, belonging, sufficiency practice that our friend Deb Hartman-Preuss put up on the internet for us. So you can use this later. Okay, again, this is another internal one. So you might want to cast your eyes down to the floor or even close your eyes if you're comfortable. This is going to be about 4 minutes long. When you're getting ready for a conversation or a meeting and you're trying to locate your intention, there are 4 dimensions to organize yourself on. 4 dimensions to organize yourself on. We're going to align in each of those 4 dimensions. The first one is dignity. So in order to locate your dignity, you're going to locate your verticality. And the way to do that is to bring your attention to your tailbone, all the way at the bottom of your spine. And notice that your bottom is sitting in a chair, that gravity is holding you to the planet. Now just trace your spine from your tailbone all the way up through your back, through your shoulders, through your neck, through the top of your head and out the top of your head. You might notice that you can grow another couple centimeters taller, maybe. This is the dimension of your height, your verticality. This is the dimension of your dignity. You are self-sovereign. You can control yourself. No one needs to do that for you. In fact, no one can. Only you can do it. And you have all the dignity you need in order to do that. Just allow yourself to feel the uprightness of the dignity that is inborn in you. Now we're going to look at the dimension of width. So this one is a little stranger. We don't often think about this one. So just locate the left side of your left foot and the right side of your right foot, your left hip, your right hip, your left shoulder, your right shoulder. We're talking about that dimension, the width of you. And you might imagine there's a little handle on your chest that just pulled your chest up a little bit and your width just expanded. This is the right that you have to take up space. This is the right that you have to belong anywhere that you want to belong, which also means this is the place of your healthy boundaries. You might imagine that your belonging includes all the parts of yourself and the people that you want to let into your bubble. And you might imagine that all of us, 125 of us all around the world, are all in one circle together right now. Each of us taking up our full space. So this is the dimension of belonging. One more dimension, and then we're going to look at intention. This dimension is the dimension of depth. So to locate this one, you might put one hand on your belly and one hand on the low part of your back. What we're talking about is the space between your 2 hands, your depth. Behind the hand on your back is everything that brought you here to this moment. Everything that brought you here. All of your knowledge, all of your learning, all of your schooling, all your experiences, all the things on your CV, all your jobs, all your skills, all your roles, but also all of the successful generations going back as far as you can imagine that had to be successful for you to be here today. It's quite an astounding feat. So this is everything that brought you to today. Now put your attention on the hand on your belly. And what's in front of you, in front of that hand, is the future that's not here yet. We think about it a lot, but it's not here yet. It's all things that might happen. And in between these 2 hands is the present moment, the here and now. This is your depth. This is the dimension of your sufficiency, that for this very moment, you are okay. You are enough. You are sufficient to meet this very moment, and you might allow yourself to believe that you will be sufficient to meet the future moments that are coming that aren't here yet. You say to yourself, I am enough. Okay, so having centered in height, dignity, width, belonging, and depth sufficiency, now you can ask about your commitment. This is the fourth dimension to organize yourself on. It's a mental dimension. But the answer might come up from anywhere in your body or your mind or your energy. So don't work for the answer, just let it come up. Think about an interaction you have coming up, a meeting or a conversation. And simply ask, what is my intention for this meeting or conversation? And now ask, what is my intention for how I will show up, for what my attitude will be, so that I can help this go well? Okay, so take a couple deep breaths. We're going to come out of that. The way you come out of that is just to start noticing that you're in a body. And then notice that you're in a room. And then notice that you're with 126 people from all over the world. Hello again. Hi there. So how did that go? Were you able to locate your intention for something real? You can just put in the chat. You don't have to put in the chat what it is, but just some feedback about what the experience of that was like. Now, let me tell you, that was probably a several minute experiment, right? Experience of dignity, belonging, sufficiency. I can do it now in like 10 seconds. I take a breath for my verticality, for my dignity. I take a breath for my width. I take a breath for my depth. And then I ask myself, what is my intention? So we did the longer version of that. The link I've given you in the practice guide is even longer. It's a 10-minute version. I mean, it's really, it's so good. Oh, it's really good. But when you sort of get the prompts in your mind, you can do it, bang, right before a meeting. Doesn't have to take a long time. Yeah, so I just want to honor the fact that for a lot of people, that was a deep experience. And for me too, I am also coming back into the world of words with you all. So just think about the fact that intention guides attention.
In the feedback, you've got several, in the chat, you've got several feedbacks, Lisa?
Yeah, yeah. Yep, that this is reminding people of various kinds of meditations. So here's the reason why we're doing so much of that sort of thing, is that to genuinely connect with someone, you first have to really be connected in with yourself, and you have to be connected to them as a person. So, right. So the 4 dimensions are dignity. That's the vertical one. Belonging, width, sufficiency, depth, and then the last one is commitment or intention. And if you just follow along that video that's in the practice guide, you'll be a pro at this once you do it. Once you've done it twice, you'll be able to just lead yourself through it. Okay, so with your ability to consciously focus your attention through intention, with your ability to see the person as a person, you have the chance of genuinely connecting. And now you're ready to talk with them. And now, just now, you are ready to connect and talk with them. And so I want to I want to tell you one more. This is the fourth. Oh, you know what? We were going to check in with Boaz. Let's do that first before we do the last thing. Let's check in with you, Boaz. What do you have?
Danko, are you drawing this
Boaz,
right
you are on
now?
mute.
Boaz, you're on mute.
Ah, yes, here. So I was talking to myself. So I was really focused in the just like me. I really liked it. It was for me something to look at and to understand. And the feeling that, in fact, you know, when you judge yourself and you look inside, it actually, sometimes you do see objects. So it was for me a reminder to check this. And then the meditation, and the index.
Could you locate your index finger, Boaz?
Yeah. And then, okay, so we have the dignity, the width, the taking in, I don't know, it's just the feeling of the back going and the chest going in and the hands. Yeah. This is this.
Nice.
Excellent. We're going to share, of course, it with everyone.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, and I also want to put in the chat that 10-minute practice I mentioned to you all for dignity, belonging, sufficiency, because I'm being told that the link in the document is not clickable. So I'll fix that link in the document and you can download it again later. And in the meantime, I've just put it in the chat. That's from our friend Deb Hartman-Preuss, who lives in Germany, and she started out as an Agile coach and she does only professional coaching work now. Yeah. So, okay. Who's ready for the last one? Last one. It is simply this. Establish alignment before responding. And you can see all these different lines. Like, you know, you can sometimes be in a conversation and not know, for example, am I trying too hard to connect? Or is what I'm saying coming through? So this practice I'm about to tell you about will help you establish alignment with people. Now, I noticed what made me really think about this is I was working with a board of directors. I mean, they wanted me to help them make decisions better. And what I noticed about them is this pattern where someone would have done a bunch of work between board meetings. They'll come to that board meeting. They'll do a presentation for about 20 minutes on this thing that they're really passionate about, that they've worked really hard on. And the first thing that would happen after they were done is that people would start giving input. People would say, oh, well, did you think about this? Or I don't really like that piece. Instead, I think we should do this. Or someone would say, hey, I like what you did. So we'd have all this input, but the person who had spent all that time and all that passion and then had presented that for 20 minutes, I would watch that person's face. And what would happen is that I don't know exactly what they were thinking, but they would start to pull back. And then I would notice that we actually weren't in a conversation. We were in a situation where a bunch of people were saying a bunch of things, but nothing was connecting. Nothing was connecting. We weren't building on each other's ideas at all. So I thought, I wonder what's going on with that person. And once I watched this a few times, one of the things I tried seemed to work. So the next time it happened, I said, hang on. So she has just given her thing for 20 minutes on something she's worked on for the last 3 months. Before you respond, I want you to tell her where you are, like what your position is on the ideas so far. And you could just say hot, cold, warm, freezing, whatever. So just go around and tell her where you are right now. And so people would say hot, warm, really hot. what we found out was that most people, actually all of them, were warm to hot. They liked the idea. What that did for her was that it relaxed her. So now she is open to hearing what they have to say. Now, it also happened that this would happen again, and people would say cold, freezing, lukewarm. Well, at least then the person knows that the information coming to them is going to be more about, like, how do we make this better? This is going to be more critical information. So the idea is that people can hear almost anything as long as they know where they stand. And as long as they know that you care about them as you're saying it. Yeah, Danko.
We need just to finish, okay? So I'll give you one more minute to finish.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's great. Yeah.
I'm sorry, very interesting.
No, that's okay. That's all right. So this is a practice in your guide. It's called Listen For. And the idea is that when someone is speaking, you are listening for what's important to this person. What do they value? What's not being said? What's their underlying tone? Questions like that. Because even if you completely disagree with what they've said, you need to first express some kind of alignment with them before you then give your appreciation or your critique. And so that's the idea. And so that's how you can know where you stand. That's how you can know if you are moving in the same direction or not. And this is the first place to genuinely connect when we're talking about content. So with that, I will thank you for your attention, for your going along with trying some things, which I really appreciate because this is a big area of experimentation for me right now.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you very much.
So thank you very much. We have a room open, the breakout room after party. Yes, so Lisa and everyone who wants to ask any questions or talk to you directly, so you are available. You are welcome to join there. And in a few minutes, we'll have here the next talk of Zuzi.